Well, hello and welcome back to the Barbecue Trucker. In this episode here, I've had some requests to tell some old truck driving stories, and these are pretty interesting, I think. As a matter of fact, the stories that I'm going to tell will be informational so that you won't make the same mistakes that I make. So sit back, and this should be enjoyable. Coming up on the Barbecue Trucker. Well, hello everyone, and YouTubians out there all over the world. Like a lot of people all over the world are watching my videos. Nobody's watching them hardly, but that's all right. I just got started, and they'll get a whole bunch interesting once I get out there on the road, and I can, take videos from all the different places that I'm going all over the United States and Canada. Okay, now then, I've had some requests from some family members and some friends. So, hey man, just tell some stories. You're looking for content, so tell some stories. And so I got to thinking about, I can tell a few stories that would probably help, a new truck driver out there on the road to not make the same mistakes I did. And first of all, I'm going to comment on my last video. The pictures at the end came out mostly in the order I put them in. Some were a little bit different, but I was really happy about it because I was actually surprised I got it to work at all. If you know about my computer savviness, you'll understand why I was surprised. But anyway, the pictures that showed all the motorcycles and all that was at Toy Run for the kids in Wise County Toy Run, which is Decatur, Texas, is in Wise County. And we took a run from Decatur all through the streets of Decatur and then down about 11 miles or so to Bridgeport, through the streets of Bridgeport, and then had a big get-together, raffles and all that. And there was over 3,000 bikers. It was so much fun, and one thing that made it just outstanding, it's the second one I'd done. The first one I did, the high that day that we rode was 11 degrees. Yeah, in Texas, believe it or not. But now here, true to Texas form, I'll tell you what, I'm going to take these off. I only need them to see. Anyway, like I say, on this, the one that you saw the pictures from, which was last Christmas, it was about 2 weeks before Christmas, I reckon, and it was 74 degrees. Beautiful day for a ride. But like I say, over 3,000 bikers. I bought a whole bunch of raffle tickets, and then I decided to go off to this place called Southern Fried Shrimp. It has the biggest jumbo shrimp I ever eaten in my life. I decided not to wait in line for the chili. I had bought a whole bunch of tickets, so I just found a whole bunch of kids and gave them the tickets, and hopefully they won something. But anyway, we raised a lot of money and a lot of toys for kids in need, and it was so much fun. But anyway, that's what those motorcycle pictures were about. And I think pretty much all the rest of the pictures are pretty self-explanatory. Some out at Six Flags. The ones with Santa Claus, oh man, that guy is such an awesome guy, really is. He and his wife would come out and to Six Flags and get their exercise. They had season passes and all. And long story short, and this is bad for Six Flags. I was really pissed off at him, even though I couldn't say anything. He was out there one day during Christmas, and security made him leave. And the head of security told him the only way he could come back in the park is if he shaved his beard. Even made the local news. That was just stupid. And that's the nicest thing I can say about that. But anyway, his wife ended up going on hospice. And so my supervisor and myself and a couple other employees, we went to the people we needed to, and we were prepared to go to the park president if we had to, because she just wanted to come and ride the train one more time. And luckily we got it approved for them to come to the park because he was not going to shave his beard, nor should he had to have. That was just, I can't find the reasoning behind it. It was stupid. But anyway, there's a couple of pictures of the guy that looks like Santa Claus. Real nice guy. And he brought her out there, and she got to ride the train, and she passed away less than a week later. But it was such an honor to be able to fulfill one of her last requests. And once again, shame on you, Six Flags, for making him leave the park because he looked like Santa Claus. He wasn't the only one that looked like Santa Claus. I think the guy that played Santa Claus out there must have bitched or something. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to talk any more about that because it pisses me off. They were just dead wrong in doing that. But so anyway, it worked out okay that we got him back out there. Okay, enough of that. Okay, stories on truck driving. Well, I think one of the stories I could start with is my lesson learned about not having what I call a survival kit in the truck, with some food and stuff like that. I was driving for a company. I was out of Central Texas, but I was out of North Texas. No, I can't remember. No, maybe Central Texas. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But anyway, I was with a company where I was home most weekends, and it was pretty good. Sometimes I was home a night, a week, or something like that. Well, anyway, I got sent out on a Wednesday evening. I got sent to Denver, Colorado, from Dallas, Texas, and I didn't have a whole much driving hours, and one thing about this company is they really didn't care back then. You did not have the electronic logs, so sometimes we'd run two logbooks, or I hated doing that. I did good enough to keep one logbook straight, much less two. But anyway, that was the nature of the beast back then. That's why I am all for electronic logs. I know a lot of people hate them, but I am all for electronic logs because that way the companies have to keep you running legal, and most of them did then, and most of it, and all of them do now. But anyway, I am a fan of electronic logging. So anyway, I headed out, and I got to I'm thinking, I can only drive a little bit, and I was tired, so I told him, I said, I'm gonna pull over, and so I pulled over and took me a nap. I got going. I got maybe halfway there, and right up in front of me, bull hauler. He blew by me like I was sitting still, and I was running like 70. And I mean, he just blew my doors off. And then about 3 curves later, he was laying on the side of the road. He just didn't slow down enough. Laid that bull wagon over. Of course, I was the first one on the scene. The front tire that was, off the ground, he was on his side, was still turning when I got there. He was an older gentleman, but he was okay. Banged up a little bit, but he kicked out the windshield and crawled out. He was okay. So big fiasco. I'm talking about an all-day deal. And the road was blocked. It slid back across the road. And so I think this is in the panhandle of Oklahoma. And it took hours for a wrecker to get there. But not only that, they had to get pins, portable pins and set up to herd all the cattle back and get them into another trailer. And they did that before they even attempted to move the truck. And so I'm going to tell you right now, those cows, there was about 3 that didn't make it, which is not bad considering the roof popped off and everything. But I'm going to tell you, those cows did not want to go back on that other trailer. That part was kind of amusing to me. But they got them all, and then got the truck upright. And so anyway, I went back to my truck, and I had a severe air leak. Hang on just a minute. Robocall. Man, I wish I was thinking about changing my number because I get, 3 or 4, maybe sometimes more robocalls a day, 7 days a week. But I figure if I change my number, I'll just get robocalls on that one. And there's nothing that stupid do not call list can do to stop it. I've reapplied and all that. But anyway, that's my problem. And so anyway, I pulled about a half a mile up the road and pulled off. I couldn't keep air pressure built up, and it was a fitting on an air tank that had just worn out and popped off, and the line blew off, and it needed some parts. And luckily, state trooper that had been working that scene come driving by, and I flagged him down. Didn't have cell phones back then. And I mean, there probably were cell phones, but they would only get service in a city. You wouldn't get service anywhere in the panhandle of Oklahoma, I guarantee you that. But so anyway, he was real nice, and he took me back into town, about 7 miles back into town. And I called the company. They put me up in a motel because we couldn't get a mechanic. And the next morning, they wouldn't send the mechanic to pick me up, so I had to walk up to a mechanic shop a couple of miles. which that's fine. I needed it. Oh, by the way, I want you to look at my shirt. United we stand. That is right. We get it up a little bit. Liberty and honor. Anyway, I just had to do that. And no, I didn't flash my titties. I'm sure y'all are glad about that. But so anyway, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning before this mechanic could even break loose. And so we rode out there, and he saw what he needed. He had to go to 4 or 5 different places before he found the parts he needed. And anyway, he finally got me going. Well, now the load's not going to get to Denver before it was going to some grocery warehouse, and it wasn't going to get to Denver before they closed. So the company set it up that I could drop the trailer there at that place and then bobtail up to Golden, Coors Place, and pick up an empty trailer. These were, by the way, 57-foot trailers, not 53, not 48. They were 57-foot trailers. And I believe they were 14 foot tall. They might have been 13.6, but I think they were 14. And wasn't even allowed to go into Arkansas without a permit, even though I did. But anyway, that's another story. So I get up there, and I get just outside of Denver, and it starts to lightly snow a little bit. And not bad. I mean, just real light snow. And so I get the trailer dropped, get my bills taken care of. Luckily, the security guard could handle that. And I headed up to Golden. And I got up to Golden, found the empty trailer, hooked it up. Now it's snowing pretty good. And so I head back. I was headed down to Colorado City to pick up some tater chips going back home to Dallas. Well, not only did it start snowing, but it really started snowing. I come around the loop around Denver, and I'm headed down on 25, and there's a little, to them it'd be a little hill. You know, it wasn't nothing serious, but everybody, it was like, I don't know, it wasn't snow on there. It was like the snow had melted and then froze. It was ice. And I was doing okay until I had a couple of idiots that think that they can drive better on the snow because they live there. And of course, they spun out in front of me. And same robocall. I should have answered it and said something mean, but I'm not that way. And so let me adjust this a little bit better. There we go. And so anyway, it's snowing, and I mean it is really coming down snowing now. So I'm thinking hopefully the snow will get over the ice, which will help you go a little bit. And we didn't even carry change. I was very rarely in Denver. And also, anyway, I had to come to a stop because the idiot's spinning out and all. So anyway, I got going, and I just put it in like 3rd or 4th gear and letting it idle. And of course, it was spinning some. I had my power divider in. And I figured, well, I'm just going to keep trying as long as I can. And I was moving, although probably not quite as fast as an 80-year-old man can walk. But I was moving. Took me nearly 2 hours to get up to the top of that hill. And then I really kind of wished I hadn't, because by then we got a blizzard. I'm from Texas. Most snow I'd seen at the time, at that time, at one time, was 4 inches. So it doesn't already did 4 inches the first hour or more. But so now here I am. I'm heading through the mountains, and I mean it's a blizzard, full force blizzard. And so I'm looking for a place to just get off the road. And I've got white knuckle grip on the steering wheel, and I'm driving about 15 or 20 miles an hour at the most. I don't know how many times I could actually read the writing on the side of my trailer, because the wind just would blow that 57-foot empty trailer just right on over. And I'd have to kind of adjust the wheel a little bit and tap the brake just a little bit on the trailer brake, just a little bit, and get it straightened back up. And I remember I had a JB Hunt. I'm not bashing on JB Hunt, but I had a JB Hunt truck just go blowing by me, doing at least 40 or 50. And about 2 miles down the road, he was in the center median. He was stuck. So I'm trying to find a safe place to get off the road. And I see a rest area, big rest area. Now it's dark. And so I come up on this rest area, and the snow was solid. from the road over to the side. You couldn't tell where the ditch was. You couldn't tell where the entrance ramp was. And I'll be damned if I was going to guess. So I kept on going. Nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. And all of a sudden, probably about another hour, hour and a half later, I come up on a way station sign, way station 1 mile. And, the lights are flashing if it's open. When these lights were flashing, well, my first thought was, well, they got a way station open in this kind of weather? And then I thought, maybe that's a place. Okay, so it was easy to get in the way station, big area. I went across the scales. The scale master was just waving me on through. I was empty. And I pulled up. There was 2 trucks parked. There's probably room for about 8. And I pulled up behind this one truck and was happy to be there. And so, anyway, now I'm safe. And so now it's kind of interesting. And I mean, the truck was rocking. It was a full, I don't know what the winds were blowing. But, oh, by the way, for all you truckers who've been out there, this way station was on Monument Hill. I call it Monument Mountain because I'm from Texas. They call it Monument Hill. But anyway, it was just a snowing. Blizzard just going. And so I set up for a while. I had a sit-in sleeper mat, not a whole bunch of room, sit-in sleeper. It was kind of a modified sit-in sleeper. The bunk wasn't right behind the seats. You had about a foot from the back of the seats to the bunk. And that was it. And so anyway, I sit out and just watch this guy in a Camaro get stuck. And he got out, left it in gear. He got out and decided to try to push it out. And he did get it loose, and it took off, and he couldn't catch it, and it ran off into the ditch and nosed down in with one back tire off the ground. So he was stuck. And I'm watching, I see a lot of military buses going by. And I'm trying to pick stuff up on the radio, but I can't really find any radio that's really talking about it or anything. And so I decided to go to bed. I wake up about 6 or 8 hours later, and it's still a blizzarding. I mean, the wind's not quite as much, but it's coming down. Then all of a sudden, it's like they turned off the wind machine. But the snow was still falling as heavy as I've ever seen. But it was coming straight down now. And it was really pretty. And I get to thinking, well, I'm kind of hungry. And, of course, I had to go to the bathroom, so I figured I'll walk back to the and I had to call. We didn't have a Qualcomm or anything. I had to call the company and let them know what was happening. So I started walking through over knee-deep snow. Well over a football field, probably 2 football fields back to the scale house. And I'd never done that before. When I got there, my pants legs were stuffed full of snow, or just poof, full of snow all the way to my knee. I had to knock all that snow out and get it out of my shoes, and went into the scale house and warmed up. It was cold. I don't know what the temperature was, but it was cold, probably in the 20s. And went to the restroom and called my company, which is, now it's a Saturday, by the way. And I get, weekend dispatch, and I'm telling him what the situation is. He goes, okay, well, give me a call about every hour. And I said, I'm not going to do it. Boy, they're tenacious, aren't they? I said, I'm not going to do it. And they don't even leave a message. Okay. I'm not going to come back every hour. It nearly killed me walking in that snow and up in that elevation. I mean, it was more than you'd think it was. And I wasn't in great shape, but I wasn't in bad shape either. And, man, it was just horrible. Luckily, I had about a half pack of cigarettes. Luckily, the truck in front of me sold me 2 packs of cigarettes so that I could make it. They were Marlboro Shorts. I smoked Marlboro Light 100, so you can imagine what kind of hell that was. But it's all right, at least I had cigarettes to smoke. I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to get hungry. This is when I realized I don't have anything with me. I'd stopped in Oklahoma the day before, and I had I remember I had a choice of the Cool Ranch chips or the Flaming Hot chips, big bag. So I was feeling bold, and I got the Flaming Hot chips. So I had about a half a bag of Flaming Hot chips to eat and nothing to drink. Nothing. So I take my big 44-ounce cup, and I fill it full of snow. And set it in the truck. Well, it don't melt, so I had to set it under the heater vent, and I had about much water in there. I had to do that about 3 or 4 times to have enough water. And I ate those chips and all that. And so it finally quit snowing about maybe 6 or 7 p.m. that evening, and had to go back to the scale house that evening and call and check in, let them know I'm still alive, and go to the restroom again. And the scale master guy, he was stranded there too. He said that it had snowed 66 inches. And on the radio, I'd heard that it was the strongest blizzard and most snowfall before Thanksgiving that had ever happened in Colorado. And so anyway, I'm sitting there. I go back to the truck, and I'm hungry, man. I mean, my stomach's starting to gnaw on my backbone, and I'm thinking, why didn't I have anything in here? I've never had the situation to need it before, but boy, when I needed it then. So anyway, I ended up going to bed. Wake up the next morning, clear skies, sunshine, beautiful white snow everywhere. And so talking with the other driver, I went and called in and talking. By that time, I had a path, so the snow didn't go up into my pants like it did before, and it was easier to walk. Because I don't know if you ever walked through more than knee-deep snow. It'll wear you out. So anyway, and the other truck drivers were in there, and they were saying that the scale house guy had gone down to try to find some food. We saw him walking back with a bag, and he'd walked around a good ways to go down to this store. And here's the bad part about it. If I would have went another half mile, there was a exit that had a truck stop down at the bottom of it. Oh, well, I didn't know. Poor trip planning. Nowadays, that's not going to happen because you got all these apps that show you where the truck stops are. And if you trip plan better, that's not going to happen. So anyway, we see him cutting through the woods, actually, cutting back. He didn't want to walk all the way back around. And all of a sudden, he disappears. He's gone. And then we saw him doing almost like a backstroke. And he came back, and all he could find was a bag of some kind of trail mix or something. And all the stores were closed and all that. But they said there was a restaurant down there that, there actually was the truck stop was open. And also, I'm hungry. I headed down there to the truck stop, went and got in line. Those army buses, they'd set up, and all the army guys were in there helping them. They were serving scrambled eggs, bacon, sausage. And I'm in line for about 30 minutes, and I get the person in front of me gets to the counter, and they said, we ran out of food. Okay. Wondering, what have I done to deserve this? So thinking, well, and also they ran out of electricity, or their generator ran out or something. I can't remember, but they couldn't check me out, so I couldn't buy anything. But they said, hey, Burger King over there is supposed to open at noon. That was about an hour and a half. And so anyway, I went over there and waited at Burger King, and they did. They opened up at noon. Electricity's back on. I ate 2 Whoppers. I was hungry, and fries. And then now I'm good and full. I head back over to the store and buy me some cigarettes and walk back up to the truck. And the roads are still just horrible. And I'd heard on the road that 25 people passed away on that road that night. A lot of them had just got stranded, and they didn't know to get out and clear their exhaust. If you get stranded in the snow in your car, or if you got exhaust that's down in the frame on a truck or something, you make sure don't let that snow get packed around that, because the carbon monoxide will come in your vehicle and kill you. And that's what happened to a lot of people. I was watching them go out and rescue people on snowmobiles. And also, roads were closed, no way of going anywhere. And they said the roads would be open in about 3 or 4 hours. And I'm seeing snow plows. They're getting it done. So I'd called it my tater chip load. Well, no, I was going to go to get my tater chip load. So I think it was like 6 or 7 o'clock that evening before I got to leave out of there. And I nearly couldn't get out because the snowplow had pushed snow all up against my truck. And I had to go back and forth before I worked out a path to get out of there. Wished that I had a camera. Back then we didn't have the cell phone, so I could have taken a lot of pictures. That would have been cool. Anyway, I did have one of those disposable cameras, but I'd taken pictures of that wreck, and one of the company people from the company that owned the truck that turned over gave me $25 for that camera so I could have the pictures. So anyway, I get going, and they set me up with a Tomahawk Motel down there in Colorado Springs. And I may have said Colorado City earlier. I hope I did. It's Colorado Springs. And so anyway, the next day I get up, I head over to tater chip place, and they can't load me. Their docks are just covered with snow. You can't even get in there. So that load's canceled. They ended up sending me back up to Denver, and I got a load of water beds headed to Houston, and I got back home. But the moral of the story is, after that, and anywhere I go, make sure you carry plenty of food, plenty of water. You smoke plenty of cigarettes. Be careful going into Canada. You'll know what, I don't know. I think you can carry a carton. That's about it. Maybe I can do that now. I don't know. I'll find out. But anyway, that's the story on that. And I've already gone nearly 25 minutes on the story. But that's a good lesson to learn. Make sure you are prepared when you're out there, because you never know what's going to hit you. All right. Well, this is going to do it for this episode of the Barbecue Trucker. And I'll think of more stories to tell later. So until then, don't forget to thank all your first responders, your military, for what they do for us. Without them, as you know, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing now. Anyway, keep that rubber side down. And if you see someone with a frown, give them your smile. This is a Barbecue Trucker. We're out. Now, I don't know if it's going to show up on a video, but just want you to see how clear that is. And if you shake, bubbles go away. It's about 150 proof right now.